Okay, let's get started. March 1st, I see some of you are in this doc. I'll drop a link in the chat. I'll let everyone add themselves to the attendees. Let's see. First item, oh, look, it's mine. I was talking to the TOC yesterday, doing my update with them that I do every 8 weeks or whatever. And we were talking about how Go 120 just came out. And I showed them how in a lot of our releases, we document which version of Go that we're on in a standardized way. And they said, oh, that's actually, they liked that. They are thinking, oh, maybe we can roll this out across all Bosch releases. And then I realized actually there's 2 releases I don't keep the closest eye on in our working group. And those are the releases that you all work on a lot, which is the PCAP release and the HA proxy release. I was told in HA proxy, of course, that you don't use Go except in CI. Great, that one doesn't matter. But in PCAP release, I did open a GitHub issue just this morning about bringing it into line with standardization. So getting it auto bumped in CI so it's not hard coded to Go 118, which it is right now. Documenting the version in a docs.go version file, and then including it in release notes when release happens, obviously.
We will definitely do it before cutting the first release. So right now there's 0 releases.
Yep.
Is it still on some of your scan finders, or how did you get attention about it?
No, I just was thinking about, oh, if we're going to standardize this everywhere, we should standardize it in our own working group first. And
Sure.
was just seeing that this was the odd one out. I do realize it's not formally released yet. It's still in beta. I don't know, whatever before beta is. So no rush on it, but I wanted to leave it here and plant it in your mind.
Thanks.
Okay, Patrick and Vladimir. Vladimir's not here, but Patrick is. Sync on higher amounts of 502s and RMs. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, actually, discussion turned out to be very short, I guess, with your comment. That was the most important.
Okay.
So maybe just some background. So we saw a lot of 502 complaints recently. So I know we talked about 502s in general over time again and again, but to me it felt like just in the last 2 weeks we had tons of tickets, just way higher. So just wanted to hear back if you observed something similar, or if maybe some change in this area occurred. Seems not to be the case. Also, one more observation. So in our case, the people were mostly using autoscaling, so the app autoscaler, and they just had a lot of events. So apps were regularly scaling up and down. And additionally, it seems like they just have very long running processes or requests, sorry. And then they are just interrupted with 502s. So some of this I just learned after putting it on the agenda. We could mitigate it by having a longer graceful shutdown interval time. That's why I wanted to hear what you think about increasing it, or if you see risk in increasing it, because we have this discussion now internally, and maybe that's my main point. What do you think about this value? Would it bring risk?
Yeah, I haven't heard about other people having this issue, but of course, we don't run our own platform, so it can take a long time for those kinds of complaints to bubble up to us. I'm curious, you're saying 502s, and you're saying 502s back to the end user, right? Like GoRouter will attempt to retry, and it gets 502 every time, and then it returns 502.
Yeah, it was 502 to the end user. In this case, I think, yeah, so we are mixing up 2 things now, I guess. So this interval interruption is the new one. I think it's pretty clear what's happening. There can't be much more than a 502, maybe a retry, but I guess mostly for these long running things, it's then post or something that can't be retried.
Okay.
And the other thing we had in mind, like Max mentioned on the issue, is if maybe this TCP error is not given back. No, sorry, I lost the background. Let's disregard that part.
Okay, well, if you turn up that property on yours and it ends up fixing it, we can come back and decide if we think we should change it for everyone and bump it up. Common runtime, memory overcommitment.
Yeah, basically something which I would like to ask if you have some kind of a feedback about that. So yeah, we will try to do some sort of overcommitting our runtime memory, but so far I haven't heard someone achieving such a goal on Diego. Previously, looking into former DEA container scheduler, we found a straightforward configuration for memory overcommitting, but seems like there isn't such a configuration in Diego. So I was wondering mainly whether you have tried similar approach and have some success.
I think we might have some properties, though maybe not in Diego, maybe in Garden. Does this sound familiar, Jeff? There's like a scale you can have to either overcommit or undercommit.
Yeah, it's there. I don't like when I was managing platforms, I think we shied away from that just because of problems during evacuation and everything thinking that there was more memory available than there was, and then apps get killed by killer and things crash for no reason. It was just a little too scary for us.
Mm.
But are you like you're running into problems where apps are being deployed with much more memory requirements than they're ever using?
Yeah, exactly. We have really high deviation between requested quota memory and really physically used memory. So yeah, the deviation is really large, and we charge our customers based on used memory, but we provision and pay for quota memory. And we are trying to kind of close this gap somehow, and we would like to eventually try with overcommitting, but so far searching for what kind of configurations we need to play around, if there are such configurations, or maybe we need to kind of do some kind of a proof of concept to see if it's required some extra coding, or I don't know what exactly.
It should be I think there are configs there that will let you do that, and then it just tricks the auctioneer to thinking that there's more memory available than there is. We ended up solving the problem simply by billing based off of their quota memory versus what they actually used, and making it apparent how little they were using and how much they could save.
Yeah.
I can see how moving from the low bill to a high bill would get people pretty upset.
Yeah, but it would be kind of a tricky for us to move in this direction, I guess, because the deviation is really high. So we have kind of a not more than 20% of memory utilization. Of course, we initially thought that people may request more memory simply to get more CPU shares, but at the end it's not the case, because the CPU utilization is low as well. So we have average of 15 to 20% CPU utilization. And yeah. Okay, so
I took an action item to try to dig up what configuration we do have. And then
yeah,
you can look at that and we can continue the discussion if you think
yeah,
that's good or not.
appreciate that. So first of all, we are now trying to kind of achieve even distribution among the cells, because we are currently using this bin pack first fit approach, which kind of introduce angle so that we are able to host really large applications, something like 32 gigabytes on cells with limited resources. But we see that having a even distribution is critical for the overcommitment. But yeah, so let's see if we found out something useful.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's all that's on the agenda. Stefan, you got anything you want to add?
Not urgent. So one thing which is a little bit bugging me is the documentation issues, but it's not really related to this working group because the documentation projects are somehow distributed between the working groups. And the page we are contributing is more the development guide. This is in the, I think, in the interfaces working group, and it seems that nobody merges the pull requests. And after they are merged, it always takes time, also a very long time, because some issues of the process, that it appears in the official documentation. And here I have the impression that this process is somehow maybe belonging to our working group, because I think this, I don't know how the project is called. So the overall project which collects all the pages and builds then the documentation, I think it somehow belongs to us. I'm not sure. How's it called?
Yeah, I don't know. Bookbinder, I think might be.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
exactly.
thinking.
Yeah, Bookbinder. Yeah. So I'm not sure how I should address these issues. I think also the Slack channel for docs is not maintained or not watched anymore. Yeah. So this is the thing, because we rolled out this feature for the syslog train with MTLS, and we have a big customer which wants to use the feature, and we pointed them to the official documentation. And also we want to do a fix now for the page, where the pull request is now open for, I don't know, also 3 weeks already again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've been, yes, the docs team has been spread out. Currently it's only VMware docs team right now, with massive turnover. So the docs team does not include anyone who worked here during pivotal days. And Greg and I sat down and had a meeting with them last week to explain to them what the CFF is and what their responsibilities were. And honestly, they just had no idea. They didn't know there was an open source Slack they should be watching. They didn't understand why they were getting PRs from people outside of VMware, and that made them nervous, right? So I'm going to say there's a learning curve, and please be patient. But if you're running into any issues like that, feel free to DM them to me, because I've been chatting with them about what their role is and what their responsibility is, and they're just starting to get up to task on what they need to do for the open source. So I'm going to say it's not malicious, and we would like to do better.
No, sure. I never assumed that. I also raised the issue to our management that documentation is still VMware only.
Right.
But you may expect also that there was not a hooray in the management, because they said, oh yeah, we also have not so many resources, and we will take it with us. But I don't expect that they come back. I have to ask for maybe several times and raise the awareness, but it's important also for us that the documentation process is working and the documentation is up to date.
Yep, I hear you on that. Great, thanks for bringing it up. I'm glad I called you out. Jeff, you didn't put anything on the list? Nothing? Okay, well, it's been another great working group forum. It's always a pleasure to see you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.